is considered to be World Autism Awareness Month. In India, a team of 4 women have started a one-of-its-kind movement called Not That Different. Not That Different is the first ever children-led movement in India which aims to make neurodiverse kids feel accepted and included. Midday spoke to Nidhi Mishra, Mugdha Kalra, Archana Mohan and Aayushi Yadav, the women behind Not That Different.
So we run a very exciting platform for kids by kids, which means that children write their own stories, they share their own thoughts. It is a one-of-a-kind platform because usually you see adults writing on behalf of kids. Almost all children's content so far has been like that. But we are very convinced that children are equally capable and deserving of creating their own content, sharing their own ideas. And in this process, they gain a lot more confidence. So Not That Different was an initiative which stemmed from this realization.
Nobody can relate to a Spider-Man who got bit by a radioactive spider. But you know what we all can relate to? It's the fact that Spider-Man went through loneliness. He went through rejection. He went through an identity crisis. And those are the themes that all of us have at some point of time gone through. It's that relatability that we focused on when we started creating Not That Different, the country's first comic strip in which we introduce a character on the spectrum interacting with a neurotypical child.
We have decided to use and leverage our own skills at creating meaningful but fun content in coming out with comic strips which are very handy to get introduced to the world of neurodiversity. And no better way than to use our own brand persona, a little girl called Sarah, who is a big favorite with kids.
Not That Different started as an initiative to make this world a more inclusive place. It is to educate people on neurodiversity, on other people and especially kids on the spectrum.
What is neurodiversity? We often hear people with terms like, oh, she's a special child, or why is he so different, or so weird, so quiet, so dramatic, to name a few. But do we know? We don't ask most of the times for the fear of being offensive or because of the misinformation, simply. And then let's be real. How many of us are researching about it later on? Yeah. Now there's a big reason why this initiative is so close to my heart, and that is it talks about neurodiversity through children's minds. Questions asked with pure curiosity and innocence, not yet overtaken by the conditioning to think a few times before we speak, like I am doing right now. Kids don't do that, and that's the beauty of it. It's an initiative to educate us on people's minds, mostly on little ones' minds, because that is a very crucial stage for brain development and in terms of social interactions and building self-confidence. Now, as a visual designer or an artist, I feel pictures, moving pictures, are one of the best ways to tell a story. Doing this has been so relieving in many, many ways.
In these comic strips, you will see not great world problems being solved. These are going to be very simple, relatable, everyday incidents in a classroom, which I'm sure every child will look at, relate, and chuckle. And you know what? Somewhere along that chuckling, there is going to be a realization that neurodiversity is beautiful and that children on the spectrum are not that different from children who are considered neurotypical.
The team also talked about the challenges that they faced while bringing their vision to life.
Well, there are several challenges around neurodiversity and raising a child with special needs. First and foremost, acceptance coming from the family. Initial years of my autism awareness was about helping special needs parents come to terms with the diagnosis, make sense of it, and seek intervention both for their child and themselves. So I wrote about my experiences, I made video blogs, and I tried reaching out with information and supporting them. The second challenge was when I realized that as a special needs parent and as special needs parents around the world, we are just creating an isolated community of our own. And for inclusion to happen in real terms, we need the rest of the world involved. And that is when Not That Different happened, as an effort to tell the world that neurodiverse children are not that different. They're quite like you. And it is very difficult to change the mindset of an adult. However, if a child is learning to accept children slightly different from them with open arms, then that is a real win in making an inclusive world. And so we thought, why not a children-led movement towards inclusion? Well, as a journalist, I was trained to research and share and raise voice. My son's diagnosis gave my vocation a purpose. I use my experience with my skills to reach out to more people seeking help for their children and also for themselves. Mental health of the caregiver is the most neglected, and because I went through the same ordeal and found a place of semblance later, I want to try and make it easy for others too. And of course, we always wonder what after us. And this is my bid to leave an understanding, more accepting world for my child when I'm not around.
In an ideal world, everyone would be enthused by this idea. Who wouldn't? I mean, everybody wants neurodiversity, at least on paper and on Twitter. But in reality, when you're going through your Twitter feed and you see a post about autism, more likely than not, you are just going to skip because it doesn't concern you. When you see a child on the spectrum in the supermarket, you genuinely do not know how to speak to that child. It's not that you are biased against someone on the spectrum. The fact is, you just do not know. And because we as parents do not know how to speak to children on the spectrum, we are uncomfortable talking about it with our children also.
I am very grateful to be a part of this initiative, and I hope you will be too. Because now, as you've come this far, you're a part of this team. Welcome to the team, and we have a long way to go. But this is a start.
I hope we normalize conversations around neurodiversity with this. We tell the special needs parents to have greater acceptance for their children and not hide them. I hope for a park full of kids engaging with children who are different than them. Perhaps more schools involving children as buddies and acting as shadows to their neurodiverse friends.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.